he's a guy that has done a lot. In New England where he was, he played a lot of different positions. I know he was a little bit of a leader. Got a chance to evaluate him even more specifically a couple times in free agency, and kind of dove into exactly what he does. But obviously, from playing those guys 2 times a year and knowing exactly kind of where the positions he played, we thought kind of after the cuts and where he was would be a really good fit, and been really, really excited. I mean, he's a guy that's obviously ready to go. He's mature. Obviously, very well coached up there, and I got a lot of respect for him so far. So, I mean, he's a guy that's, again, can do a lot for us. He should be a 4-core player, and excited to have him here. Tanner, on the other hand, kind of a unique story. I met Tanner McAvoy when he was in grade school. I recruited his brother to walk on at Rutgers University. His brother's Colin McAvoy played at Pascack Valley High School in New Jersey, and grew up in the area that I grew up in. And I recruited his brother and know his family. So I think the first time I met Tanner, he was in grade school, so when his brother was coming into Rutgers and ended up walking on and being a player there. So I followed his career a little bit and kind of he's a guy that obviously made the Seahawks as an undrafted free agent a couple of years ago. Guy has played multiple positions, was drafted out of high school as a quarterback, played safety, played receiver, could kind of wear a lot of hats. Very, very bright player, good football IQ, played PP for them. Has blocked punts, has caught passes, has done a little bit of everything. So, again, a little bit of a jack of all trades. And again, the fact that I had a little bit of familiarity with both guys, playing against them and knowing who they were, that certainly helped. And, as you know, I kind of followed the special teams core players around the league. And we had an opportunity to get both of those guys and really thought that they could come in and fit and help us out.
How was the roster cut down day for you? Obviously, your guys play such a big role on who is the last few guys on the team.
It's bittersweet. It's a situation where, we work as special teams coaches. We work with everybody on the team. And so right when we start off in OTAs and back in the spring, we're getting everybody ready to play. And, so we spend a lot of time with these guys. And there's some really, really tough decisions, and it's never easy. You come down to, and there's always going to be those really, really tough decisions on those, player, I want to call it 48 through 53, maybe the last 5 or 6 guys where you're trying to fit the pieces into the puzzle and see what's best for the team. And, sometimes you got to put personalities aside and relationships aside and do what's best for the group. And so it's hard because there's a lot of good players, I think, that we let go, right from every single position. There's some good guys that, are going to continue to play. And so it's difficult for me. And then once we get down to this 53, I can promise you this much. One of the nice things, the bittersweet part is my depth chart goes from 90 players down to 53. And so all of a sudden you're shrinking down and there's the sideline starts to look like a ghost town a little bit. It's not as many people you're dealing with. And so, one of the challenges for special teams coaches in the preseason is the substitutions. How many times you watch a preseason game, there's a guy running out there late, not just in our game, any game, there's a guy running, you got 10, you got 12. You see it all the time because the depth chart's a little bit of a nightmare for a special teams coach in the preseason. It's a huge challenge. And so that part of it is the good part. We've narrowed it down to 53. The guys we feel like are the right 53, and obviously a couple guys weren't here. So, it's a little bit hectic for me. I tell you, like a lot of work on the Excel spreadsheet, on the old depth charts. But it was sad to see some of those guys go because a lot of guys put a lot of hard work in, and so that part's the tough part.
With Mike Hull down, Marquise Gray down, do you feel like you have enough bodies for that core unit on special teams?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, I think the additions of Bolden and McAvoy certainly help. Listen, Mike Hull and Marquise Gray played a lot of quality snaps here. Not only a lot of snaps, but a lot of quality snaps here the last couple of years. So is it a challenge? No doubt. The guys have to step up? No doubt. There's no question that I feel confident in the guys we're going out there with. And, we've lost some players in free agency. We lost some players to injury. That's just the way it goes. And as a special teams coach every year, that's something you're dealing with. You're dealing with getting young players ready. You're dealing with players that you no longer have, and you're kind of managing the roster the best you can. And so, hey, listen, I feel like right now we got guys, we still have some good returning players. Walt Aikens, Sonoris Perry, name a couple of guys that have really played well for us in the past. Chase Allen really played well last year, and his arrow was like this the entire year, arrow up. And now with the addition of Bolden and McAvoy, heck, I think we got a pretty good group. Yep.
Were you guys at all tempted by Dan Bailey or any veteran kicker that became available Saturday, or did you all go into Saturday night thinking Jason Sanders is our kicker regardless of any name that becomes available on Saturday?
Yeah, I think the first thing, Barry, is one of my jobs as special teams coach, kind of get a pulse on the rest of the league and where teams are at with kickers across all the specialists across the league. And so we're always monitoring that situation. There's no doubt about that. That's year round. And so, you're always at the cut down day. You're always going to be. There's always a couple names you maybe weren't certain were going to come available. That come available. So yes, definitely had kind of a pulse on that, and kind of was definitely. Looking at that. However, I really felt as camp went on, Jason and Greg both got a lot better and really improved. And there was a point in camp where I felt like, we have our kicker here in Miami. I feel like our guy is here on the roster, and that thing went down to the wire. I mean, both those guys were good. I mean, and really improved throughout. At the end of the day, the decision to go with Jason was really just more of a consistency thing. Obviously we chart everything and the analytics and all that stuff from when they get here. It just felt like Jason Gate was a little bit more consistent. They both obviously have great ability. Heck, Greg's already gotten tryouts, I think, with other teams since he's left here. I think Cleveland worked him out the other day, maybe some other teams. And so not a surprise because he's a talented guy. And that wasn't an easy decision. But we're really happy to have Jason as our kicker. I'm really, really, excited moving forward. And I think I'm really looking forward to getting him out there on Sunday.
I know that Jakeem Grant is cleared to play. Mm-hmm. You'll have him. I'm sure you're relieved about that. But what was the what-if strategy if he wasn't cleared to play? I mean, who would be your kickoff returner? And I'm assuming Amendola would be your punt returner.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've talked about throughout camp. We always try to, I talk about that stable. I always like to have that stable of guys. And you, in my opinion, you can never have enough. Never have enough returners. And I think we talked about this earlier in the preseason about getting as many guys ready to play as possible. So, the punt returner group right now is Jakeem. It's Danny Amendola. It's Wilson, Albert Wilson. It's Drake. Got a couple of younger guys ready. Our kick return pool. Drake. Obviously Grant. Balaj is a guy that can do it. You got Torrey McTire is a guy that's done it. Albert Wilson, again, Drake if needed. And so, we have more options than we've had in the past. And you guys have covered this team for a long time know that we haven't had as many options in the past. Maybe if a guy went down, we got to get somebody that's not here. I don't feel like that's the case anymore. I feel like we have a more of a group of guys that are able to go out and do it. And so I feel a lot better about that. Snorris Perry is a guy that returned kicks last year for us at times as well when there was some injury stuff with Jakeem and things like that. So, there are guys on our roster that can do it. So I feel a lot better about that. So we're practicing in that way, and we're going in with maybe 2 or 3 deep, where in the past it wasn't like that.
Obviously, you might not know until it actually happens, mm-hmm. But with Jason being a rookie, how comfortable do you feel in a pressure situation, 48-yard field goal to win a game, that he's ready for that moment?
Yeah, I mean, at the bottom line is until that situation happens, we'll see what the result is. But the bottom line is 2 things. One, I'm very confident in him. I'm very confident with the way he went through training camp, the way he's, you saw what he did at the end of the Falcons game the other day. Kicked a long field goal with a lot of leg left on it. I'm very confident in his consistency and all that. And so my confidence level in him, he wouldn't be here if we weren't confident in him. I could tell you, that's not really talking out of school. I mean, everybody knows that if we didn't feel like he was the guy, we probably would have went with somebody else, a veteran or somebody else that we felt more comfortable with. Second thing is there's going to be bumps in a row with rookie kickers, rookie specialists, snapper, punter, kicker, returner. We went through it with Jakeem when he was a returner, and really you can group those guys in the same pile. Are there going to be peaks and valleys with a rookie? Am I going to stand up here and say everything's going to go perfect for the season? That would be a little bit unrealistic based on history. Do I think he's going to be consistent enough for us to win on a consistent basis? I do, and so I am confident in him, and I'm really looking forward to. I really like where he's at from a mentality standpoint too. This is something I've talked about with him before. He's never too high, never too low. He's got a great temperament for a kicker, and there's a lot to be said for that. That's not a small thing. That's just to be glanced by and overlooked. He has got a really good mentality. If he misses one, makes one, he's kind of had the same mentality, and so he's kind of mature beyond his years, and so that part I think is going to help him here moving forward.
Any of the rookies? So you're thinking Fitzpatrick, Baker, Smythe, and Armstrong. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking somebody that have any of those guys really jumped out? Like, wow, they can really be good in one of the 4 cover teams, cover kickoff, or made great progress since they arrived.
A couple things. Maybe more than in the past, we brought in some rookies that had a little bit more special teams experience in college than maybe some groups in the past. So a guy like Minka played a lot at Alabama. He played a lot of special teams at Alabama. Baker played a lot of special teams at Ohio State. Balaj played a lot of special teams at Arizona State. That's usually not the case, especially with the higher draft picks. And so these guys had a little better foundation coming in than most. And so I think that makes them a little bit, I know it makes them a little bit more advanced. And so they've all flashed at times here in the preseason. Now, Minka didn't play a ton of special teams in the preseason, but he had maybe the most experience of anybody. And so very comfortable in using him. Baker, obviously know his linebacker coach, defensive coordinator at Ohio State, Greg Schiano, is a guy I worked for 6 years, and so certainly had some history there and kind of knew his makeup coming in, and he hasn't proven anybody wrong. He's flashed and made some plays in both defense and coverage, and so, Balaj is another guy, although he missed a couple of games. So they've all flashed at times, and Balaj played some in this last preseason game, played a little bit of everything. We had him holding up punts, we had him playing gunner, we had him kind of guy jack of all trades again, kind of moving around. And so got him a lot of work. And so all those guys, Cornell Armstrong probably made the biggest improvement of any player on the team in special teams area from when day one till now, has made a really big jump. And so I'm really happy with him with his progress. And so he really was a guy was kind of on the most improved list, if you will. As we go through. So all those guys at some point have flat. All the rookies that are going to play for us. Durham Smythe is a guy that came in right away and probably picked up things quicker than anybody in terms of in the rookie class, in terms of mentally, really good football IQ, kind of knew that coming in, really good makeup. And so he picked up things very quickly. Nothing was too big for him. And so all those guys, that we just mentioned have all at one point or another proven that they can kind of, hold their own so far.
Riz, with changes on the special teams, how much more important does Walt become?
Well, Walt, I don't know if he becomes any more important. He's always important to me. How I feel. I think you guys know how I feel about Walt. He's been a kind of a foundation guy for us, if you will. A guy that's, we're kind of building around here in the off season. Obviously, he was a free agent, and we decided to sign him back. And you're kind of building your core group around a guy like that. And Walt's made a lot of plays for us. I think Walt has come a long way in terms of leadership and leader by example and things like that. He's really grown in that way. And so we're looking for a lot more leadership out of him. When you start to lose guys, you can start naming the guys we've lost in free agency or injury or whatever. You lose some leadership there, and you're looking for a guy, you're looking for some cohesiveness at least. And a guy like Walt brings that. He brings some energy. He brings leadership. He brings experience. And so you're looking for guys to be looking to a guy when you're on Sundays and things start flying around, and he's the guy kind of holding it together right now. And so I've been really, really happy with his progress, both as a player and a person and a leader. And so, his maturity, he's really, really grown. His maturity's kind of taken off. And so, I can't really speak enough about him. He's been great. And, he's been a guy that, again, there's going to be some of those younger guys are going to lean on. And I've watched him go and mentor some guys in practice. I watch him grab guys in meetings. Hey, sit here next to me. And that's no small thing either, And so he's been really, really good. He's been a model for us, a guy you're looking for, a model of consistency in this offseason. So hopefully that shows up on Sunday.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.